Ma'am, you sound familiar. Have we met? You strong, strong man. Hello everybody, my name is Robbie, and you are watching Geek Levelation. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. We're going to be talking about Power Rangers Dino Fury Episode 2, the things that I liked, the things that we learned, the things that I didn't really care for, or the things that made me laugh. Maybe not in that particular order. But we're definitely going to go over all of those things, and then towards the end, I'll give you my predictions as to who I think Void Knight is. And before we start rocking and rolling, don't forget to like this video so that this video can be put in front of other Power Rangers fans just like you. And we are so close to the 5,000 subscriber giveaway, guys. My Funko Pop Ultra Zord is ready to be in one of your hands, so we're almost there. So let's talk about the things that I liked, because there were a lot of things that I liked. The first one is Zato teaching the others how to pose while they're morphing. You don't really see that a lot in previous seasons, and most of the time they all kind of already know how to do it somehow magically, but we get to see the mistakes that were made and that they actually practice this thing. Number 2, we've got teleportation back. Now that is not only cool for me, that's cool for these imaginary characters that I'm talking about, but we haven't had teleporting, I don't believe, since Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So how are the Rangers getting to these different places? In certain seasons, like RPM, they have the cars, and even in Dino Charge, we see Tyler, riding around. I think he has a Jeep. And not only that, we learn how teleportation works. You have to twist the thing, and then you gotta hit it. What I like about this is that they're instructing the audience in how they're using their technology. And we haven't really gotten a lot of that. I like that. It also, again, reminds me a little bit of RPM, where they kind of go into the tropes, and they even parody and make fun of, like, why do we get an explosion in the back every time we morph, and is this spandex and XYZ? They're kind of like addressing things. I like that. So now I mentioned the morphing practicing. Let's talk about the actual morphing, the morphing sequence. I really liked it, guys. Now, I'm gonna explain why I liked it. The reason why I liked it, and I don't know if they're gonna continue this in the future episodes, but when they do an official morph for the first time, when you watch Blue and Pink, like watching the suit kind of materialize onto them, you could see like in their faces, like, wow, like this is crazy. Like they're watching it happen. And I thought that was pretty cool, because if I were them, and if I was a Power Ranger for the first time and I was watching myself morph, I'd have like the same expression. I liked how they did that. It was just like cool camera angles. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Time Ranger a little bit, obviously with better CGI. Now, a few videos ago, I did a video basically pitting Super Sentai and Power Rangers up against each other. And in it, I mentioned that Super Sentai in many cases and in many categories wins, but every once in a while, Power Rangers wins. Let's go over something in this episode that I think is better than Super Sentai. If you're a subscriber or a fan of this channel, you know that I didn't like Real Soldier that much to begin with. But one thing that is really very clear already in Power Rangers Dino Fury is they're explaining not only the technology, but they're explaining the keys, or in Real Soldier, the Real Souls. When I was watching Real Soldier, it got really confusing really fast. They didn't really explain anything. They just were using all of these abilities from these Real Souls that they've collected like on their own time. And then like further into the series, they did take the time to explain to the audience what they all did. But by that time, for me as an audience member, as a viewer, it was too late. I was not interested in them. There were too many of them for me to keep track of. I didn't really like that. In Power Rangers Dino Fury, they're doing it a different way. They didn't really explain each boost key capability or ability in detail, but what they did do is explain that you have the ones that you morph with, and then they call them the boost keys, so there is a different category of them already, and I liked that. And I can tell it's very purposely done. In the episode, they're giving you close-ups of everything. I like that too, especially for toy sales. As a kid, I loved close-ups of like the Morpher and stuff, which you didn't see often. And the last thing that I'll mention is just a music taste thing that I'm opening up to it. I'm opening up to it. Because one of the things that I complain about a lot is I don't always like the music in Power Rangers. I love it in Super Sentai. I loved it in Mighty Morphin, and that's kind of like, I was a kid, so it kind of like introduced me to metal and just like fast, like heavier, aggressive music. And then by the time we were like after in space, kind of like Lost Galaxy, we got all these like, I don't know what to call it type music, like this triumphant music, and I didn't really like it. They went back to a like upbeat, up-tempo, rock kind of sound, but they modernized it with a synth. So you get a lot of synth melodies and, you know, kind of like minorish keys, but it's still like an aggressive rock feel. And I noticed that not only in episode 1 during the fight, and again, I don't even know what to call their little lair. They probably named it. What is the name of it? And during the Zord fight. I was watching the Zord fight and I was like, something feels different, like the tone of this feels different. And I noticed it was the music. So I like that. So now, things that I thought were funny. The first one, I'll just bring back the first one in the last category again, the teaching how to morph, and then the key flying in the air, and them making mistakes. I thought that was funny, so I'll count that as one. The second one is Shockhorn's, kind of like the way he's built. Shockhorn's mouth is on his crotch. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. I just thought that was funny. He also somehow is from the South. He has a Southern accent. Listen, other monsters in the past have also had accents that are, you know, based on different geographical locations of Earth, which doesn't make any sense, but okay, he's from the South. So now, one of the things that I thought was funny is Ollie uses a boost key and literally just runs and jumps off of a building. They didn't really show him practicing or even knowing what that boost key did, but if it was my first day as a ranger, I'd probably not exactly know how, you know, maybe physics work when you're morphed. I mean, can I jump off a building and live? He kind of just uses it, jumps right off of a building. I thought that was kind of funny, but that's something only an adult would think about. Also, regarding Ollie, I thought it was funny when he had to like hide his voice from his mother and he'd use like a lower, deeper voice, and she didn't know who he was, because that could have gone very wrong very fast. Mom, ma'am, you sound familiar. Have we met? You strong man. So now, moving on to things that we learned and some of the questions that I know that I myself and many other Rangers in the community had when Power Rangers Dino Fury was coming out. The first one is Zeto's antenna, his Piccolo-looking antenna. We knew that those were going to disappear because we saw pictures of him without them. I didn't realize how creepy and weird it was gonna be as how they did it. They could have like had him kind of just almost like vanish or like dissolve. They like go into his head. And they do mention, you know, they do address how weird that looked. Another thing that we are introduced to is the lair for Void Knight. It's called Area 62. He has an easy bake oven, and that's where he's putting his Sporix. That's what he wants to do. He wants to put his Sporix in this microwave, easy bake oven looking thing. And the last one I'll put in this category, and we don't know too much about this yet, but we do know that this universe is somehow connected or linked to Operation Overdrive, because we get that Easter egg of Hartford Robotics. So that brings me into the things I didn't care for. So now let me backtrack and talk about Beast Morphers for a sec. Beast Morphers ratings were not doing too well, and then they started to do a little better. Why? Because they started bringing in some Easter eggs, right? They started bringing in the RPM thing, you know, having everything relate back to them. They brought in Dr. K, and they also did the team up. We got to see, you know, in the like the lab and like the kind of like the equipment room, we got to see like old morphers and stuff. You know, that brought in the nostalgia element for everyone, I guess, in my age group, because that wasn't for kids. They don't know what they're looking at. And although that's cool, I felt like that was almost like a Hail Mary, like we gotta bring people back in. So I can't, you know, I feel a way about that, if you will. So now, fast forwarding to this episode, they bring in Harper Robotics by basically introducing this android that's supposed to be like the secretary for Jane. I keep calling her Hunter, Amelia's boss at Buzz Blast. She's, you know, introducing this new android that's going to be her secretary and then her successor. I don't know if they're just doing this to kind of bring in that nostalgia aspect, or if this android is going to play an actual part in the show, because if this android is going to be part of the show, maybe as either, you know, comic relief and have like some role in the general storyline, great, cool. But if it's just kind of like, yeah, well, we just wanted to put this here so that people like you can be like, whoa, they brought in something from Operation Overdrive, that, you know, we'll find out. And by the way, in this scene, one of Jane's employees runs up to her, interrupts her during her unveiling of this very special thing that she's announcing. Listen, that dude would be fired if this was real life. That guy wouldn't have a job anymore. So now, I mentioned that I really liked the morphing sequence. There was one thing that I didn't love about the entire process of it, and that was linked to Morphin Grid. I don't hate it. I get why they did it. They are really trying to explain the morphing grid these days. Ever since the 2017 movie, because they use it as a huge plot point to bring Billy back to life, or, you know, Zordon was supposed to come back to existence, they've been really focusing hard on it, even though it was basically, you know, just a plot driver, you know, a plot device in the old series. But to me, I kind of feel like it downplays the whole dinosaur aspect of it and makes it more of a technology thing, right? Because now your power is just coming directly from the morphing grid. Link to morphing grid, great. They do their roll calls and they mention their dinosaurs, but the power doesn't seem like it's coming from the dinosaurs, right? It's like when they're morphing and they do their little circular thing, they don't call out a dinosaur name. It's not like the power is coming from the strength of the dinosaurs. The power is coming directly from the morphing grid. I don't know, that's just kind of how I feel about it. So last but not least, as promised, my predictions as to who Void Knight is. So now in Soldier, we find out that Geysorg, who is Void Knight and Super Sentai, Geysorg is actually just a sentient armor. And what that means is the evilness inside of this character is actually in the armor itself, and it could go onto anybody and basically take them over. A lot goes into that entire plot line, but for sake of conversation, Geysorg ends up being Nada, and Nada was actually in line to become a real soldier himself, but he doesn't get it. So eventually, again, there's a lot of plot behind this, but he becomes Void Knight, he's evil, and then he turns good right before he dies. So now the reason I'm bringing that up, and I know that Power Rangers Dino Fury is not following that plot line to a T, but we do know that Zato came to Earth, fought alongside the dinosaurs with 5 other Rafkon warriors. And he thinks that they're all dead. But maybe they're not. And one of the main reasons why I think this is because the device that is now broken, but the scanner that Void Knight was using is alien tech. Zato's an alien. Could be. I don't know. What are your predictions? Who do you think Void Knight is? I would love for you to tell me, and let's have a conversation about it again in the comments. Also, what are your thoughts so far on Power Rangers Dino Fury now that you've seen episodes 1 and 2? Leave it down in the comments. And if you like this video, again, don't forget to actually like it down there and make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You could also follow me on social media. I'm mainly on Instagram and now TikTok. Make sure to follow me on TikTok because I feel like a lot of you aren't actually even on TikTok. It might be time to join. So that's it, everybody. Be good and may the power protect you.